This TFMR podcast is brought to you by your friends at JM Bullion. Visit jmbullion.com for all your gold and silver bullion needs. Well, happy weekend, everybody out there at TFMR. It's another weekend in the summertime. As you likely know, often on these summertime weekends, we try to fill in a little extra content with a special podcast. That special podcast where we bring in a mining executive, a CEO, a chairman of a board to give you an update on a specific company that is in a unique situation so that you can assess it, look at it, see if that's something that might interest you. The last time we spoke with Jonh Lee, who is the CEO of Silver Elephant Mining Corp, was a couple of years ago. And a couple of years ago, the commodities were soaring, the Ukraine war was just beginning. There's a lot going on. And a lot of water has passed under the bridge since. It's been a tough couple of years for mining companies. We're just finally starting to see some of them perk up with prices rallying. But Jonh has his own story of what has taken place at Silver Elephant. And there's a lot going on here. That I thought it would be great to bring everybody up to speed and have him provide an update. So Jonh, thank you so much for spending some time and bringing us all, like I said, up to speed on what's going on there.
Yes, well, thanks for the invite and great to be back at your show. I'm becoming a fan of yours. I know you've been busy and several channels that I follow, I've seen your appearance, so good stuff.
I'm a busy guy, no more busy than you, that's for sure. I at least get to stay home and do all my work. But it is just a crazy time to be alive. And we're finally seeing like I said, the precious metals pick up, at what price that finally relates to investment interest, not only, in the capital formation side, but just in the share price. We're waiting for that to happen. In the meantime, it's like that duck on a pond, right? You see the duck sitting there, but underneath, it's paddling like crazy, and you've been paddling like crazy. Let's start with your share price, because even I didn't fully understand this before we started speaking. Your share price has fallen over the last 2 years, but it's not just like the typical story. You're not finding any metal, you can't get any financing, you're just diluting the heck out of it to try to keep afloat. It's not that story at all. So please explain to everybody what has taken place over the last couple of years.
Certainly. Silver Elephant, our share had a nice bounce and rally since the start of the year. The shares more than doubled, but still, down around 70% from the previous top. That was around 2021. We're in the mining sector, really no different from some of the even major producers like First Majestic. I remember there were days where First Majestic, the top was around 25, 27, and still they're in the single digit measured in US dollars. So we've had in general, the sector is still recovering from the previous high. That was 2021, post-pandemic. And even though silver and gold prices are taking out, especially gold, taking out that sort of the critical resistance level of 2,000, establishing all-time high at 2,400, and silver is finally broken out of 30, and now seems to be treading waters a bit around this $30 level. The mining sector in general, from where I see it, the metal prices hasn't really caught up with inflation of the price levels required for a mining company to deliver cash flow. So right now, I don't see this rally correct like what it was in 2021 or in 2011 post financial crisis, where all boats are flowing. And there's still limited amount of capital chasing available opportunities, and that's why you're seeing the rallies in the mining sector is a little uneven, and will still continue to be so, in my view. However, right now the ones that are sort of investors gravitating towards are clearly gold and silver shares. So while I think the worst should be over for quality issuers, especially the ones in production and generating revenue and with zero to no debt, and with a quality resource base, and something we can talk about, in the case of Silver Elephant.
And Jonh, regarding the shares, they didn't just go down 70% just on their own. You actually, there's a difference in what happened there, is you were spinning out some dividends to shareholders.
Right. Right.
Please explain that to everybody.
Right. Well, Silver Elephant has been around for 14 years. We have a good story to tell. But the problem is once the shareholder got excited, sometimes they overbid the stock and there's a vacuum, right? Left aftermath. So some of our share performance is market driven, just like everybody else. Silver gone through a correction in the last 2 years, a very heavy correction. But some of that is also company driven. What I mean by that is in 2020, early 2022, Elephant gone through a quite a special corporate event where the assets of the company were spent out 4 ways, where Silver Elephant kept the Pulacayo-Paca silver project in Bolivia 100%, but the vanadium project got spun out to a company called Nevada Vanadium. The nickel project in Silver Elephant got spun out into a company called Fly Nickel. And there's a royalty component of the company that was spun out into Oracle Holding that just went public. So if your audience or shareholders that held on to the Silver Elephant shares since 2022, they would have received 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shares, including Silver Elephant. And therefore, if you look at on the cost adjusted basis of taking into account of all those different dividend shares, you're looking at your cost basis closer to $1 than it is than the Silver Elephant stock right now, which is sitting at around 50 cents.
Right. So it's not like, again, this is the critical thing for people to know that haven't really followed the story or just kind of revisiting it and going, wow, gee, there's more to it than just simply the share price falling. There's actually some value that was unlocked. And if you had bought it 2 years ago, then you received these shares that were spun out. But anyway, that's all kind of ancient history now, but I want to make sure people understand that's how we got here. Now, Jonh, this is what intrigues me and why I wanted to revisit the story and get an update from you, because now you're kind of, it's like you've made it through the storm or whatever. You have found, you're in a good location in Bolivia. You've proven out the resource and you can continue to do so, but now you're actually in production too. So you're past that phase where you're just simply, coming with hat in hand every 6 or 9 months so you can keep going. You're now at the point where the production can cash flow the extra operations, everything else. So tell everybody where that stands.
Right. Well, Pulacayo-Paca, that was very special place in my heart. I was investor of that project when I started my mining career in 2005 as an investor. So when we acquired the project when Silver Elephant acquired the project in 2015, it was almost 10 years ago, time flies, the project had already over $50 million spent on it. And Silver Elephant has since then raised another $50 million to develop the project in drilling. So overall, there's over 100 million ounces of high-grade silver in the ground at Pulacayo-Paca. And that was, with over 100,000 meters of drilling. There is sort of 2 different sets of investors in the market. There's one, the shareholder will tell me, develop the project, sell it, and sell out. Yeah. If you ever attempt to put a mine into production, I will never invest in your stocks again. And there are different set of investors are more after cash flow. Yep. So 8 months ago, Elephant signed a deal with a company called Indian Precious Metals. It's a great company with very good management. They just happen to have a processing plant that can take the oxide feed of the top layer of the Paca deposit, which is a satellite deposit of the Pulacayo-Paca project in Bolivia, which Elephant owns 100%. So it's a deal valued at between $5 to $7 million US, depending on the silver price, and of which they're dispatching their trucks and hauling back up to 800,000 tons of the Paca material, oxide materials, which is the top layer of the project. And it was a win-win situation. And right now they're laughing themselves to the bank because the deal was struck when silver is $22. And they're making, tens of millions actually with the 800,000 tons of materials that we have allocated to them. But in terms of Silver Elephant, it's a blessing in disguise because we managed to avoid dilution. We only did 1 round of financing in the last 9 months since the mine go to production, and that was less than $500,000 to pay our director fees and some of the management debt. And what that buys us is really several fold. I think first of all, it is a testament that the mine can be put in production. We don't have any impediments in community or logistics or in any sort of typical risk associated with the mine. So we're in production right now, looking at every day up to 1,200 tons per day. So that's close to 60 trucks that are hauling back and forth. We have a YouTube video on silverelephant.com homepage. You can see all the excavators that's ongoing. That's all real life action right now. Shot in April. And secondly, up to 5 million. Elephant already received 2.5 million, another 2 million to be received by the end of the year. So that certainly pays our bills, and we've been really conserving a lot. And even with the round of drilling that's been currently undergoing is paid for by Indian precious metals. So it's something that investors really sort of, they're left with a bit of a sour taste with the stock coming down. And some investors were invested in Silver Elephant for non-silver related. They were after the nickel and vanadium. They got their things and never looked back. But right now, despite all the progress we've made, like I said, it's a duckling, right? Paddling fiercely underwater. We're still very, very undervalued compared to our peers.
Well, and I suppose that's the next thing we should discuss, because again, I'll put some links on this page so everybody can go to the Silver Elephant site and see the investor presentation, all the recent news. Just last week, the update on 26,000 metric tons of this Paca oxide that you were able to ship off in the last quarter?
Yes. No, last month, in a single month.
And how that's just growing month after month. And so you take that cash, and then there was also then the very next day, some news about how you can continue to drill and prove this out and put you in a very interesting spot. But if I do the math right, you're fully diluted about 45 million shares at a U.S. share price of 40 cents, 35 cents. And we're talking about $20 million market cap. And you compare that to what you think you've got in the ground. So let's talk about what the resource that you've already proven out and what else you think you might have.
26,000 tons in a given month. The average resource of the Paca oxide, the grade is over 5 ounces of silver. So the mine is right now at the run rate of producing a gross of over 1.5, close to 1.5 million ounces of silver that's being trucked to Indian precious metals. Again, just to show the potential. Granted, there is a $5 million deal with a $2 million kicker on the higher when silver is above $28 and $32, which right now we're over 28, so we're going to be receiving that $1 million bonus by the end of the year. But still, $7 million, 10 million Canadian, which is half of our market cap. We're not doing any additional exploration drilling per se, because the project has over 100 million ounces of silver already in the ground. We're one of the very few companies that can boast that number, a century mark, on the 100 million ounces. And then further, in terms of the valuation, the company has come close to $100 million market cap a couple of times in the past, and there's no reason not for us to return to that level, and still had a very decent 33 million shares outstanding, 45 fully diluted. So if we go back to 100 million market cap, would be at $2. And there's no reason not for us not to go back to that level, especially we continue to demonstrate the ability and the scalability of the project by steadying production at around 20,000 tons per day to Indian precious metals, and then sometime down the road next year, the company is planning to start the sulfide production, which is really the crown jewel of the project that is just laying beneath the oxide layer. And so the two operations can be carried out concurrently. And the company also has a plan to build a sulfide processing plant on site, so we can capture that margin riding on the higher silver prices. So there's definitely, the company is in the last 6 months really transformed from the typical Vancouver junior company of drilling a couple of holes, raising some money, and playing golf in the summer. We are working 17 hours a day. For me, 7 days a week. It's not easy dealing with mining, with the project that's in production like we're working on right now. So it is a bona fide production that really sort of also de-risk our risk of our project ownership, because we're writing checks to the tunes of close to $100,000 in royalties, in communities, in truck drivers, in feeding, in providing employment in the Pulacayo Township, of which we're the largest probably at this time of employer at Pulacayo.
Well, and again, that's getting at why I thought it was so great to get this update with you, because again, no one knows what the future is going to hold, obviously, for price or for your company and cash flow and all that stuff. But you look at this, to my eye, it's like, boy, that's about as low as it's going to go based on market cap and share price and everything that you've got going. Because again, as you get into the sulfide part of it and refining that on your own, then you think that generates even more cash flow, and it gets better. Then we're not even talking about where the price of silver goes up. Jonh, let's just hit a couple other bases. Tell us a little bit about the experience of working in Bolivia. About the only thing I know about Bolivia is watching Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid movie when I was a little kid, and that's where they ended up.
Yeah.
What's it like as a jurisdiction? What are the locals like? Is it a good place to do mining?
It's interesting you mentioned the Sundance Kid. That movie was shot at Pulacayo, so the railhead
Was it
in that
really?
movie actually is still sitting. It's still sitting at the grand entrance of the mine, the Pulacayo mine. I myself first went to Pulacayo in Bolivia in 2005. It is actually one of the most stable South American country, Bolivia, and the currency is pegged to the dollar, so hasn't really endured a lot of the havocs that you saw across the tape in South America, not like Argentina or Colombia or Venezuela per se. I lived in Bolivia from 2015 for about 2 years since we acquired the project. I'm a very hands-on person. I graduated with an engineering degree. And we have a very enjoyable experience working at Pulacayo. the Pulacayo co-op, the leader, was a kid when I saw him 20 years ago. So we have a very long relationship, and the people that we hired at Pulacayo started their mining career in Pulacayo in 2005. So we have a very good relationship with the locals. And what's also lucky and fortunate is that Pulacayo has a very rich mining history. It is the silver from Pulacayo that enabled the Bolivia Railway to Antofagasta. Was built by the Spaniards back in the 1800s, and it was the silver from Pulacayo that enabled the Spaniard that enabled the Spaniard Empire back to 200 years ago.
Wow!
So the mining is supposed to be a mining town with very rich traditional mining history. But we don't have any herders or any agricultural people, and they are generational miners, and they're just very happy that that there is resumption of activities after all those years, after more than 20 years of exploration since the start of the bull market. And they're also and now they want to see the expansion of the production and building a plant on site, like we talked about, because somehow they felt like we're just trucking stuff out of the mine, right? And they don't like that too much. So they're very eager to expand the scale of the production, and we're continuing to our community stipends are based on production numbers. So everybody's very excited to continue to move moving forward.
And you mentioned, even at this early stage, cutting some checks to truck drivers and everybody else that's helping out. You're reminding me of, we were talking to Keith, you mentioned First Majestic earlier. I remember talking to Keith Newmeyer about this, how they were running a mine in Mexico at a loss for a while. And, the Wall Street people, that's terrible. Terrible management. And Keith's like, the heck with you. I mean, we have a community to support. It's our obligation.
That's right.
And it sounds like, again, this community where the mine is kind of the same way.
You're right. Well, I'm a mining investor just like you are for the first half of my career in the metals and mining industry. Unfortunately, some of the lesser quality mines have to continue to be in production. Some of our peers, they really have no choice, because you cannot just shut a mine. It'll be flooded, especially underground mining projects. And there are all other commitments and obligations to the community. What's lucky for us is the deal we have struck with Indian Precious Metals we're guaranteed to receive a minimum of $5 million over the next 3 years. Of that is front-end loaded, majority of that in the first 18 months. And regardless what the silver price is, the way we looked at it is always being to take that money and pay for our bills and then continue to expand our footprint, right, in the community, at the project. And then it's the sulfide part that was going to provide us the upside. I think so far has worked well for both parties. I mean, we sort of don't have the administrative burden in calculating precisely how many ounces being trucked and shipped. We're a bit unlucky in timing. I mean, hindsight, if we struck the deal now versus was 6 months ago, we could have asked for $15-20 million, right? But that's okay. All in all, sad, we haven't lost the crown jewel, which is the sulfide. And one other thing is that I mean, we're working well with the community, and I visited other companies like Silvercorp, right? That's all you get started. Endeavor Silver, Fortuna Silver, starting at 500 ton per day, and then gradually up to 2,000 to 2,500 ton per day. That's how mining projects get built responsibly while minimizing dilution. Right now, we're already trucking over averaging 800 ton per day, sometimes days over 1,200 ton per day. That just shows in terms of infrastructure, we can surely accommodate that sort of throughput, which is again another demonstration of our sort of the sweat and time and effort put into the mine, and also just showing the scalability in terms of infrastructure for this wonderful project.
Well, so John, here we are, already halfway through the year. Come on now, where does the time go? It'll be exciting to see where prices go, and obviously the global supply deficit of silver is continuing on a year-over-year basis. I mean, this whole story for silver is exciting. But tell everybody as we begin to wrap up, what should they be watching for out of Silver Elephant as this year continues into next? You mentioned getting into the sulfide and the refining of it. What other things are on the calendar as this year wraps up and we move into 25?
Right. Well, the company, the share price seemed to have bottomed in just 3 months ago. Company was trading at a low of 20 cents. Everybody thought that we're going under, or there's something happening with the mine, there's something hidden in the closet. There's none of that. And so overall, I believe the thing for us is, I came on some of the shows with other hosts earlier in the month, is that think of us like Elon Musk's boring company, right? We're not announcing any flashy drill results, which we will be because the mine is now drilling, but we're just up to be not wasting money to be drilling just for the sake of showing some flash. Yeah. We know there's 100 million ounces already that's there, so we just be hunkering down and focusing on production, which we are doing right now. Like I said, we expand from nothing to right now stays at close to 1,000 tons per day of mining operation. So we're just going to continue to be executing. We're going to be stabilizing our production at around 20 to 30,000 tons per month. So that's a runway to close to 2 million ounces of silver delivered to Andean Mining. And then we are continuing our engineering study to permit our sulfide project, aiming to be in sulfide production in 2025. And it's also going to be a model where we're going to truck to nearby sulfide plant while we contemplating the construction of the sulfide plant in 2025, and that's going to be between $5 to $10 million. It's not an arm and a leg. So in the meantime, we're just going to have to go out to the street and regain confidence. I mean, our share volume is in the last 30 days is more than I think the company history, even though our share price is down. But just shows you that the story is catching on, and we are bringing on new investors. And for the ones that unfortunately sort of bought on the high and sold on the low, it's still, we're about double from the bottom, but we're still ways from the top, and that nothing really has lost. We haven't really diluted a whole lot, so the opportunity is still there, and I'm just looking forward to sharing our progress as time goes on. But you're just going to see continued monthly production. You're going to see some drill results. That's entirely funded by Andean Precious Metals. Oh, one other thing is we also discovered gallium in India, which is a critical metal required in the 5G and in the LCD industry. So that's another exciting dimension we're going to explore. And there's some of the Indian assay results, Indian and gallium results is going to come on in June. So we do have an exciting month ahead in sharing the gallium assays in the drill results from Paca, silver oxide, and then continued monthly report on how we're doing on our mining and trucking operation.
Well, okay, everybody, you know what's coming next. You know, the standard disclaimer here. What you don't want to do is just simply take my enthusiasm and make it your own, right? You got to do your own homework. So here's how you can get started. We're going to put some links on this page. You can go to the Silver Elephant homepage and find a lot of these yourself. I'll put the corporate presentation on here. That video with all the big trucks that Jonh was talking about. I'll put that on this page too. And you can do a whole bunch of research here. You can also look up Silver Elephant by its ticker symbol. In Canada, it's ELEF, like ELEF. Or the ELEPH would be okay. But anyway, ELEF in Canada, SILEF here in the US. So you can punch that in. You can get a whole bunch of other headlines. Look at the chart, do all that kind of stuff. Again, we'll try to make this as easy as you can so that then you can then, look at your own risk tolerance and your time horizons and all that kind of stuff. But if you do, and you come to the conclusion like me, that this is an exciting, interesting opportunity, then put it on your radar, keep an eye on it, and we'll see where we go from here. Jonh, all I can ask is that you keep us updated on your progress, because it certainly sounds like you're kind of moving into that sweet spot of now you know what you've got, you're now producing, you're generating cash flow, and it's exciting to see where it might go from here.
Yeah, one last note is I'm also quite active on Twitter. You can look me up at Silver, just look me up, Jonh Lee Silver ELEF. One point I also want to address some of the insider sales by myself. 2 points to that is, first of all, majority of my salary is received in shares. Actually, a lot higher silver price, not a lot higher elephant price at 45 cents. And secondly, I don't have any proxy hidden accounts. So, we've been very transparent about insider purchases and insider sales. And I pay every dollar penny for my shares, and these are my salaries. And occasionally, just will be selling some shares to pay for my daily expense. Certainly, nothing untoward or adverse, or sort of if there's not any events that are not undisclosed to the market.
Well, I'm glad you pointed that out, because you never know. And again, that shows your commitment to this company and to this project. And like you said, you've been in love with the Pulacayo mine for 20 years.
20 years. Time flies. Yes.
Doesn't it though? Well, I'm sure excited for you, Jonh. And like I said, I hope we can keep in touch, because this next 6, 12, 18 months are going to be pretty exciting for you, it would seem. So thank you for your time.
Yes, pleasure.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. I always find these special podcasts to be so interesting and informative, and I think most of you here do the same. We'll try to have another one for you soon. But for now, we'll wrap up and wish everybody a great weekend, and we'll look forward to another busy week next. But thank you, Jonh, and thank you, everybody, for listening, and have a great rest of your day.